we were trying to talk about the different ways we can apply electromagnetic waves, right? And use them in medical applications. So we learned a bunch of different ways. We talked just briefly about MRI. Sonography is another way to, utilize waves, but the catch is that we're not utilizing electromagnetic waves with sonography. They're utilizing matter waves, right? Sound waves, okay? They use high frequency sound waves. To be clear, the technique is called ultrasound, right? Ultrasonic waves are sound waves that are kind of like, think about ultraviolet, right? What's ultraviolet? It's wavelengths of light that we can't see above the range that we can see, right? Well, ultrasound waves are sound waves above the range that we can hear, okay? Humans can typically hear up, from a couple hundred hertz all the way up to about 20,000 hertz. Now, most adults cap out somewhere in the 15,000-ish range, but in principle, we can hear all the way to 20,000 hertz, especially when we're younger. These waves change in velocity, but they change in velocity at known speeds. We know how fast these waves travel through air, how fast they travel through fat and muscle, and we know they're absorbed by things like bone. So we can use all of that knowledge and we can program that into our equipment to send out a sound wave down through some tissue, bounce it back out of the tissue, and time how long it takes, okay? We know how fast the sound waves travel. We know they can reflect, so we can send them out and read them. That thing that they put on the body surface called a transducer sends out the sound waves and catches them too. Okay, so that's what they're doing in that room behind us, right? Scanning. They are sending out sound waves, bouncing them off of the body tissues, coming back to the transducer. Computer's reading all that information and making a image from that. Waves are reflected by the object they encounter. By timing the return and dividing this in half, the distance to the interface anatomy can be determined. They have to divide it in half because they have to account for the fact that the sound wave traveled down, that takes time, and traveled back. So they really only want the traveling back time, okay? The return travel. This sounds a lot like radar, right? So it's basically just radar, but with sound waves. Okay, it's because radar uses, of course, radio waves, right? So this is radar with sound waves. So it's a very similar thing. You can build up very crude images of the body, right? If you've ever seen an ultrasound, they're not like high resolution right now. They can get better, right? If you've had a kid, you've probably done like 3D or 4D ultrasounds, yeah? We can get better with better software, but they're inherently kind of poor quality, these sound waves. So low resolution. Tissue type is indicated by the amplitude or strength of the return signal. And as the waves spread out over a distance, they follow the inverse square law, which is taken into account when measuring amplitude. Okay, so sound waves are an option. Laser light, by the way, laser stands for something. Light amplification, by stimulated emission of radiation, or laser. Okay, lasers use visible light, but they amplify the visible light and they line it up in such a way that it doesn't, these light waves don't spread out as they travel. If you've ever seen a laser, they just point in one direction, right? Make a little dot. Lasers are used in CR readers, laser film printers, laser film digitizers, burning and reading of optical discs, laser surgery, many other areas. And they use something that to amplify the light signal, either a resonant cavity or crystal, used to bring the light waves into a specific color frequency in phase with each other. If you've ever looked at a laser light, they have very specific colors, right? They don't look like a yellow light. They have either they're red, they're green, they're blue. They have a very specific color that they are.
Is that what LiDAR?
LiDAR is laser detection and ranging. Laser interferometry detection and ranging, I think. But yeah, it's using lasers instead of radio waves. It's radar with lasers. Yeah.
How a scanner?
And it's sensitive to LiDAR, or no? It's not. Okay.
So I'm assuming because obviously like the CHPs.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah, no, they've got lidar. Now things have changed, but they used to have their lidar wasn't built into the vehicles, right? They had a detection device, speed detector that you can detect, right, with your scanner. But the lidar used to have to be a handheld unit. I'm pretty sure nowadays they probably have these built into the cars now. And yeah, they've got you. But you can get them that are sensitive to lidar. I think they're more expensive or something. But and I mean, what's your kind of range? Like when it tells you,
It's pretty far, like 2 miles.
yeah, so you got some time, right? Because they're signals traveling toward and back to them, right? And before they're in line of sight of you, right? Before you're in line of sight of them, your thing's detecting their signal, right? Their light signal. Yeah, but yeah, lidar uses laser, I believe. Yeah, yep, laser interferometry detection and ranging. I'm up to being wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it uses lasers. Yeah. So yeah, lasers synchronize light waves, boosting their amplitude by concentrating them into a narrow beam, making them highly directional, that they can be made to follow a parallel path. The light waves travel out all in one direction. Okay, I don't want to say too much more about lasers right now. Let's do the next topic.